Alice in Wonderland, that magical story filled with esoterics, occultism, and a bottomless rabbit hole of possible interpretations and psychoanalyses. It stands as one of the most famous stories about a person experiencing a paracosm. Although there are endless examples of paracosms in our civilization, the exploration of the parallel cosmos or the inner world as an exploration of the psyche's mythological contextualization of experience is surprisingly rare. Alice is most likely not the first story to do this, but it is the most iconic modern example. From a psychology point of view, a paracosm is a complex imaginary world, usually generated in childhood, of which the individual child has a profound connection to psychologically, as it reflects and allows them to process reality. The paracosm often incorporates a combination of both real-world and imaginary characters, locations, and conventions, as well as having its own geography, history, and languages. The paracosm reflects the individual's experience and their interpretation of those experiences, without the boundaries of real-world rules and physics. Alice fell into a world full of drugs and strange, adultish creatures filled with addiction patterns and lead poisoning. The reason Alice is still so culturally relevant and powerful, especially for children, is that Alice reflects the experiences of pretty much everyone as they go from childhood to adulthood. Puberty is no easy journey, especially since it is coupled with the revelations of an entire new dimension of the world that children were previously sheltered from. The madness of the structure is personified by the Red Queen, a symbol of the absurdity of politics, corruption, and war, as well as being supposed to represent the values of the family structure and of the lover monarch. As seen from the eyes of a person who was innocent just a moment ago, the contradictions and absurdity of the world can't be helped but be seen as collective madness. And as the story says, we are all mad here. Around puberty, a lot of teenagers generate a new title or name for themselves, usually clashing with their parents in the process, as their parents end off as stand-ins of the perceived corrupt authority, like how fathers can end off being hated because they are interpreted as representatives of the patriarchy. This phenomena of rebellious self-redefining may be linked to a paracosmic scenario unfolding in the young person's mind, where their fantasies, wishes, and fears dwell and grow. Within their minds exists a model of the world, and if that model of the world becomes too disjointed from reality yet firmly believed, the paracosm can leak out into the real world as the individual mistakes their paracosm for reality itself, and themselves for the avatar persona they use to navigate that paracosm. This may even be regarded as a form of persona possession. It's just a phase, mom, is usually the mantra they repeat when it does happen. It can be a problem, but generally a paracosm is a roadmap to the self. They allow you to stabilize your psyche long term by allowing you to contextualize and simulate your experience of reality within a controlled setting and an evolving archetypal mythological structure. In truth, pretty much all stories are paracosms. Worlds like Middle-earth, Star Wars, Marvel and DC, Discworld, and others like them are considered to be paracosms, except they act as paracosms for the collective consciousness as opposed to only the individual. Some people even generate avatars and alter the stories to insert themselves, which is called fan fiction, although I prefer calling it fanatical fiction. There are some modern stories that follow the theme of a personal journey through the psyche, films like Coraline, Mirror Mask, Where the Wild Things Are, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and of course Alice in Wonderland, are fascinating dives into the minds of the characters. I believe these stories serve an important function in our civilization, and that they should be used as a means to teach children how to navigate the world and themselves, as opposed to just being considered entertainment and therefore being considered basically meaningless. Stories matter. Children's brains are shaped by them so profoundly that we have yet to truly map out just how important it really is. Kids will absorb more than adults, and without taking it seriously, some will never climb out of the rabbit hole. The real-world consequences of a paracosm are varied, as there are collective paracosms that act as cultural pillars of our mythological and archetypal structuring. When it comes to the personal level relation you may have with paracosms, depends entirely on the story you're telling yourself. So pick your paracosms carefully. Not all rabbit holes are worth exploring. If we are to distinguish what is real and what is not real based on whether something occurs inside or outside of our minds, then we must assume that the mind is a sub-reality where the unreal can exist. Perhaps the mind itself can be considered a form of paracosm, or perhaps a microcosm, a smaller manifestation of the macrocosmos within the fractal of the universe. Maybe then there is a macro mind. Hi, I'd like to thank you all for tuning in. If there's any painting you'd like me to do, or if you have a suggestion of something you'd like to see, let me know in the comments. Tune in next time. Have a great one.